The training facility on Kepler Station hummed with the nervous energy of 100 different species, preparing for their final combat assessment. Among them, Cadet Kanat stood out like a predator among prey, not for her size, which was modest by galactic standards, but for the way she moved. Every step was calculated, every glance measured. The other cadets gave her a wide berth, whispering about the human Death Worlder who had somehow passed every previous test. Cadet Malis, a towering Vorthak with chitinous armor and forearms, watched Kanat from across the preparation bay. Her species had ruled 3 star systems before humanity had even discovered fire. Yet something about the small human unsettled her. It wasn't just the stories about Earth, that nightmare world of crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, and apex predators. It was the look in Kanat's eyes. Patient, calculating, waiting. "She doesn't belong here," muttered Cadet Zix, his crystalline form refracting the harsh station lights. "Deathworlders are too primitive for modern warfare, too instinctual." Malice nodded, though doubt gnawed at her. The human had scored higher than anyone expected in theoretical tactics, yet struggled with advanced weapon systems that came naturally to most species. It was as if she was deliberately holding back, learning rather than competing. The assessment began in the holographic combat arena, a sprawling urban environment designed to test everything from individual combat skills to squad coordination. The scenario was straightforward: eliminate all enemy combatants and secure the central objective. Standard procedure for any military graduate. Kanat's team was assigned the most difficult insertion point, facing superior numbers and fortified positions. The other cadets considered it a subtle message from the instructors, proof that Deathworlders didn't belong in civilized warfare. They were wrong. Within the first hour, Kanat had disappeared from her team's formation. Her squad leader, a pompous Threxian named Korvik, assumed she had panicked and fled. The other teams pressed their attacks, confident in their technological superiority and tactical training. Then the explosion started. The first blast took out the enemy's primary sensor array. The second collapsed their main supply tunnel. By the third explosion, every combatant in the arena realized they weren't just fighting each other anymore. Someone was systematically dismantling the entire tactical landscape. Malise watched her helmet display in growing confusion as her team's equipment began malfunctioning. First, their communication systems developed suspicious static. Then their targeting computers started giving false readings. Her squad's advanced plasma rifles, pride of Vorthak military engineering, began overheating at precisely the wrong moments. "What's happening to our gear?" demanded Zix over the failing comm system. The answer came from an impossible source, Kanat's voice clear and calm, broadcasting on all frequencies. Funny thing about advanced technology. The more sophisticated it gets, the more vulnerable it becomes to creative interference. Across the arena, teams of elite cadets found themselves facing a nightmare scenario. Their weapons jammed at crucial moments. Their armor's targeting systems locked onto their own allies. Their helmet displays showed false information, leading them into carefully prepared ambushes. Kanat had done something unthinkable. She had turned their own equipment against them. But the revelation of her technical sabotage was nothing compared to what happened next. As the simulation reached its climax, every cadet received the same chilling message on their helmet displays. Explosive device detected. Proximity, 0 meters. Panic spread through the arena as cadets realized small devices had been attached to each of their helmets. Devices that their advanced sensors now identified as live explosives. In their arrogance and focus on high-tech solutions, none of them had noticed the human cadet's primitive approach, getting close enough to manually plant charges during the chaos of combat. "Impossible," breathed Malice, her 4 hands trembling as she reached toward her helmet. "When did she—" "While you were watching your fancy displays instead of your surroundings," Kanat's voice replied, and suddenly she was there, emerging from a shadow that should have been empty. Her simple kinetic rifle, a weapon most cadets considered hopelessly primitive, was trained on the group with mechanical precision. The simulation ended with Kanat as the sole survivor, having eliminated every other combatant without firing a single shot. The explosives, the watching instructors revealed, had been training devices, harmless but undetectable to the sophisticated sensor suites the other species relied on. In the debriefing that followed, Instructor Vex, a veteran of 3 interstellar conflicts, addressed the stunned cadets. Today you learned why Deathworlders are not primitive. They are pragmatic. While you mastered technology, they mastered adaptation. While you specialized, they generalized. While you relied on your equipment, they learned to make their equipment work for them. Kanat stood quietly at attention, showing no pride in her victory. She had simply done what humans had always done. Survived by being more creative, more adaptable, and more ruthless than their enemies expected. Malis approached her afterward, her earlier dismissiveness replaced by grudging respect. How did you know our equipment well enough to sabotage it? Kanat's smile was small and cold. I didn't sabotage anything. I just gave each system exactly what it was designed to detect, after I modified it slightly. Your sensors work perfectly. They're just not programmed to distinguish between actual threats and carefully crafted false positives. And the helmet charges? Magnetic training beacons reprogrammed to mimic explosive signatures. I attached them during the first 10 minutes when everyone was focused on their tactical displays instead of watching their flanks. Kanat paused, studying the alien's expression. Your people ruled 3 star systems, but you forgot the first rule of warfare. The most dangerous enemy is the one who doesn't fight the way you expect. As the cadets dispersed, whispers spread through Kepler Station about the human who had turned a simple combat assessment into a master class in asymmetrical warfare. They had entered the exercise believing that superior technology and advanced tactics would always triumph over primitive Deathworlder instincts. They had learned too late that when you're dealing with a species that evolved on a planet trying to kill them every single day, underestimating them isn't just foolish, it's fatal. In the end, they hadn't killed the Deathworlder cadet. She had simply reminded them why her species had earned that title in the first place.